Hey there everybody and welcome back. In this video I'm going to make a really quick walkthrough of how to get Thunkable's login page set up. I've seen a couple videos online but some of them are outdated, so just wanted to give you an updated copy. Now I do want to make a quick disclaimer, as when you're setting this up you are going to be handling other people's data. So just want to let you know I'm not going to be held responsible for how you use the content of this video, as you are essentially going to be using Thunkable while also posting to Google Play, the Apple's App Store, maybe any other app stores, and you're also going to be using Firebase. So you're using multiple systems, so make sure that you read up on their policies as well as the policies for Play Store, and make sure that you understand how you're handling this data, as Firebase is going to be storing it in essentially your Firebase account. So again, I'm not held responsible for how you use the information of this video. Make sure that you're following any and all applicable essentially data handling policies. So this video, we're going to start off with how to actually create the buttons and text fields and name them. Then we're going to cover how to actually set up Firebase, which is pretty easy. And then we're going to cover the blocks, which is the most complicated part. So feel free to skip ahead to whatever part you're at. Make sure that you pay special attention to the blocks section. Any misstep there can actually really cause some issues. Now, before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the channel for new content. So let's go ahead and jump straight in. If you have questions on Thunkable, to avoid adding that in this video, check out the description. I have a video there that kind of walks through what Thunkable is and how to use it, or just the basics. Now, for this video, to get started, how do you actually build this out? Now, I know this is not the most attractive login page. I just want to make sure you understand the functionality. So you want to create something. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to go to your project. So you basically just click on it. And then when you're going to test your login logic, make sure you have a second page to actually go to make sure that it worked. So for example, if I click login, I'm not going to know if I'm logged in. So I have to set it up to take me to page 2. Different color background, and just says let's do this. Now we have 3 buttons here. All you need to do this is drag a button over, and here you're going to make sure that you change the button for like the text itself of the button. And then what I would recommend doing is renaming the button. The reason for this is if you just drag 3 buttons over here, when you're developing the logic, you're not going to remember which button is sign up and which one's reset. So you're going to want to rename them to make sure you actually set up the logic correctly. So you will go ahead and drag 3 buttons over, and then you're going to need one for sign up, one for reset password, and one for login, for obvious reasons. Then we're going to do the same with your text fields. So when you're in Thunkable, on the left-hand side, you'll have all of your options here. Basically, what we're looking to do is just drag over the text input. And then here, you can type here, you'll change this to email, password, etc. And then again, over here, you're just going to rename this. Text input for is kind of an ugly name, and obviously you're not going to know which one's which, and you don't want to have to flip back and forth. So you would drag all those over, create this, order them however you want. If you want more advanced logic, for example, you want the sign up button to appear separately, etc., then you can kind of set that up on your own time. This is mainly just to show you the login functionality. Then again, create a new screen just by clicking this plus sign. Make the screen look different so that you can test when you log in and when you don't. Next up, we're going to walk through, so we have all this set up on our end. You have screen 1, screen 2. Let's walk through the Firebase setup. It's incredibly easy. I'll put this link in the description. Basically, you're going to click on this link. This is the Thunkable's sign-in documents. You're going to log into Firebase. I'm not going to do this just because, honestly, their screenshots are pretty up to date. You're going to sign up, and then you have to connect your Firebase account with Thunkable. So you log into Firebase, you're going to see a screen similar to this, and you're going to see Add Firebase to your web app. When you click that, you're going to see API key and database URL. If you don't see database URL, there's going to be a very, very similar text. Cool thing about Thunkable, you can try out different URLs and figure out what's working. I'll show you how to adjust those settings in a second, but basically that's what you're going to do is you're going to click right here, copy those 2 over, and then you can modify email templates. So this is the confirmation email that people get when they sign up for an account on your app. So if you don't want it to be that kind of ugly no reply email, you can set it up and customize it yourself. And then what we're going to do in Thunkable is use the sign in block. This is the logic that they're basically stating that you need to bring over, which we'll cover shortly. So you would need to customize this, and this is the logic that they're stating that you need. Does this look super complicated? A little bit. So we'll walk through it real quick. So biggest thing, A, start off by creating this page. B, go ahead and get your Firebase account set up. You can't make the logic if you don't have a Firebase account. You can use the free version of Firebase for this. Now, what we're going to go ahead and do, once we have this set up, A and B are done. C is the last step. Now, again, don't be intimidated by the logic. I'm going to zoom out for those of you who understand what this is. You can literally just go ahead and kind of copy this logic yourself. So these are the three options. I'm going to explain them, and then I'm going to show you how we build them over here. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back in, so pause the video if you just need to copy this and kind of create the logic or the blocks on your end. So zooming straight in, we're going to start off with the easy one. So I'm going to start off by explaining the block, jump to Thunkable to show you what it looks like, and then once we're done explaining all three, I'll show you how to build them. So first one is when sign up is clicked, if the email text is null or passwords text is null, then do this. We're going to set text input 3 to please enter email and password. Otherwise, sign up emails text with passwords text. So what does this mean? Click on design. Then from here, we're going to click on this play button, which gives us a web preview. So what this means is the if statement. If sign up is clicked and nothing happens, there's no data here, then it's going to say, please enter your email and password. Now, is this the best place for this? Probably not. You could create a little block up here that basically only shows the error message that's in the second part of the if statement. So do this. It says, please enter email and password. You can have this show in any block wherever you want it. I just put it here because it was easiest. So nothing happens. Now, what we can do is if we want to sign up a@a.com and we want to use the password testing, we'll just delete this text here and we'll retype testing. We would click sign up. Now, there is no confirmation dialog, so you basically just assume it's done. This does send a Firebase email confirmation to click on a link to confirm that email and password is set up. And then you would click login and it logs you in. So we'll go over the login flow, or the blocks, I should say, and then we'll explain this. So when login is clicked, do all of this. So if emails text is null or passwords text is null, then tell people please enter your email and password. This looks oddly familiar. Here's a cool thing about Thunkable. If you create this, because this is multiple pieces, you'll see they look like puzzle pieces added together. You can click the outside block and click Control-C, I believe it's Command-C on a Mac, and if you hit Control-V to paste, you then copy that entire block. This makes it a lot easier than having to build the block piece by piece. As you can see, there are quite a few different pieces. So you can actually just copy this and then drag it in and plug it into the if statement here. So we'll go ahead and delete all of these pieces real quick. Now, so again, this is just what we call error handling. If there's no email, no password, then you have to tell people enter email and password. Otherwise, do this, and this is your sign-in block for Firebase. So you would click sign in, and then you drag in the email addresses text and passwords text. So if there's data in email and password field, then you're going to do this. So basically, you sign them in. Now, if there's an error of any kind, which the error block is actually included, we'll cover this in a second, then do this. Set text input 3's text to invalid credentials, please re-enter. Otherwise, navigate to screen 2. So basically, in the event that this stuff is entered and there's no error, that means you have a valid account. Sign them in, move them to screen 2. So what does this look like? I want you to pay close attention to set text input 3's text to invalid credentials, because this is going to be important. So let's jump over here, and we're going to click play on web preview again. We will type a@a.com, and then password is going to be testing. So we'll click sign up. Now at this point, a@a.com, whoever's email address that is, if that even exists, gets an email saying click here to confirm your account. Then essentially you can click log in, and here you go, you're in. So that lets you know that it worked. But how do we test that a failed case doesn't go through? So for example, we want to test that maybe you want to type in aa@a.com and you're going to type in the same password. Well, then you would click login. You're going to see here, invalid credentials, please re-enter. This is text field 3. If you notice when I made a comment earlier, pay attention to this. This is where that error shows up. So if you wanted, you could actually just make this a little block that's the same color as the screen in this background, and then it's only going to display the error message if there's an error. So that's one way to do it. So you have invalid credentials, please re-enter. So that would be the point where you would click a@a.com, click login, and it logs you in. So, and it just says, let's do this. That's page 2. So that one works. And then again, we're going to go over the Firebase in a minute or two. Lastly is going to be reset password. So when reset password is clicked, if email address is text equals null, then please enter your email. Otherwise, reset password for email address, and that's a built-in function for the Firebase block. So what that means is when you have an email address here, if there's nothing there and you click reset password, so we'll click play. If nothing's there and you click reset password, please enter your email. Then if you type in your password, or I apologize, if this is going to say enter your email. If you enter in a correct email, for example, a@a.com, click reset password, nothing changes, but that just sent an email from Firebase to reset that password and set it up. And Firebase, again, is where all the credentials are stored. So at this point, again, this link is in the description, but you've already set up your Firebase account using all of this. So what you're really going to do is make sure you have this API key and database URL handy. If you log into Firebase, you'll see this button. You just click it, and it's going to display all of this. So essentially what you're going to do is when you're logged into Thunkable and you go to blocks, we're going to make sure that we're not in a preview. You will see down here there is a sign in button or section. This has all of the blocks. Now, these blocks are what we're going to use to create these, but first, if you want to actually set up your Firebase Access, you'll notice you have a couple of options over here. So you have your media files, your settings, and your tutorials. So we are going to be looking essentially for our Firebase setup. So you're just going to log into your Firebase account in here. So you have all of these tutorials here with all of the details, all of your settings. What we're basically looking for is that Firebase account. So you'll notice when we're scrolling through, you have your AdMob settings, Google Map, Firebase settings. I'm not going to scroll all the way over because you're going to see the full API key, but you'll see that you have your Firebase settings midway through. You're going to copy over your API key and your database URL, which is your API key and your database URL. You may have to click sign in for the first time, and once this is saved, all the Firebase blocks are essentially assuming you're using this info. So we're going to go over to blocks. So at this point, you've basically used or set up your Firebase API literally just by copying and pasting these two pieces of information. This basically tells Thunkable, this is my Firebase account. Send the info to it and retrieve the info from it. So what you're going to do now is build out these blocks. So these are color coded. So start one at a time. Start off with your sign up block. Click on control. You have your if then if else statements. So if you want to recreate this when do, you just find the block that looks similar to it, and you're going to drag it over and kind of create that. You also have your if then, so you can, again, this is creating logic. You can probably do something similar with something a little different. So where we're finding a couple things. First, sign in. This is where you're getting sign up and the sign in and reset. If you'll notice, these three blocks are sign up, sign in, and the reset password. So those are all in that Firebase section. these green blocks are all in this. There's actually a text. So the logic is right here. So when you're building this one out, you're essentially looking for this block, and you're basically telling it, all right, we need to know when the email address's text is equivalent to null. So what you're going to do is you're going to go find the text block, and you can actually use this for the error handling. What we're going to do is we're just going to go to logic. So we're going to use null, and you're going to find when email address is text. So you have a couple of options in these logic blocks. So first, you can click on email address here. So there's UI components. If we click on email address, you'll see email's text right here. So if we plug this in right here, and these blocks can be a little tricky getting things to line up, but as you see, email address's text is equal to null. So we just need to find this null logic right here. And you essentially have the first part of this. So then you need logic that's OR. So we're going to drag this over and plug this one in here. And then what I like about Thunkable is you can actually copy and paste, Control-C or Command-C, and then paste. And then what we're going to do here is we're just going to change this to be password. So if emails text equal to null or passwords text equal to null, that's this block right here. And then you would just drag this in, and it connects, and you're all good to go. Then you have set. So this is another logic. So these flows, if you don't see these green ones in logic, then it's going to probably be either built in to one of these other if-thens, or it's going to be attached to a UI component. So you have logic here, which are green color-coded options. You also have these associated with set, reset password. So these are directly associated with these UI components. So think of these as logic, but specific to each one of these buttons. So that's how we got this one set up. I just showed you that set, and you can copy. It doesn't matter which one you use. If you copy set text input 3, you can change this to email address once you copy it over. So you don't have to find the exact UI component. This is the reason I was telling you to make sure you're naming your buttons and text fields so you don't forget. So that's your set field here. And then, like I said before, your sign-in flow is going to be in Firebase. So you'll just go to sign in. We're going to drag this sign-in option over. And then you're changing out these two options. So when you pull over sign in, you pull in email addresses text and passwords text. You can literally click on the component from above, Control-C or Command-C, and paste it in. These three options are already included with this block, and this is where you're just taking set, which we just showed you, and you're going to put an error here. So this is an object. So these will typically have these little text chunks, so to speak, probably the best way that I could explain it, but that's going to be your error handling. So you can use objects or text. When you're bringing this over, if you ever can't find something, for example, maybe I want this, but I don't need both components, you can try to split things out if you need half of one, depending on which options will allow you to. But basically what you're doing is you're going to try to insert some kind of text, and you're going to say, please enter your email address. So just find the component that looks like this. And then the reset password option is, again, built into the Firebase settings. So I know that this is a pretty rough run through, but basically the best way to explain this, I've already walked you through the logic. At this point, you just need to start with sign up, find all of the blocks. It's a little bit of an egg hunt sometimes, but you find what looks like this. I actually did this from watching a previous YouTube video that had different block names. So you just find these blocks, and literally it's a puzzle. You put the pieces where they need to go. Then you're going to do the same for when the login button is clicked, and same for reset password. Once you've done this, it pretty much updates in real time. Your data is going to be sent So when you do this email login, when you're testing it, it is actually sent through to Firebase. So your Firebase account will show all of your, like you're going to get emails and be able to view some of the data there. But when you're setting up Firebase, you're going to want to make sure that you're using the authentication option. And you're also going to want to make sure that you're setting this up to be secure for your users. So I can't be held responsible. This is my disclaimer. I can't be held responsible for how you use the content or how you handle users' data or really how you use the content of this video. This is strictly designed for educational purposes. So let me know if you have any questions. Drop them in the comment box below. But again, this is pretty much the quickest run through. That's all I did to get this set up, and everything's working here. So I'll see you all in the next video.